Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Angela Brennan and today I'm bringing you Spellbinders club kits from December 2024. I do use quite a few of the club kits here today. I start off by thinking I'm going to show you how I use the wax seal of the month and embossing folder of the month. But as I said, I'm starting off here with the better press of the month, but I'm not doing any letter pressing here. I'm using it to do some hot foiling, and I use the hinge method. Again, for hot foiling, whether I use a glimmer plate or a better press plate, I use the Hammermill card. And here you go, you get a beautiful image of the friendship lace design hot foiled with matte gold hot foil, which came with the glimmer of the month. And here I'm using the glimmer of the month, which is friendship is everything, and I'm going to do it some hot foiling using the matte gold hot foil as well. I do have separate videos showing how I use the Glimmer Hot Foil Kit of the month as well as the Better Press of the month from December 2024 Club Kits. But here I'm doing it because I want to show you how I use it with the Wax Seal of the month. What I'm going to do with both images that I've just hot foiled, I'm going to be doing some ink blending. So I ink blend on it, which means it will resist the areas that's hot foiled. So it's called the foil resist technique. The Glimmer of the Month comes with a coordinating die where you can die cut the edge of the image. So I've die cut both of it and I'm going to assemble both of it onto one card. I die cut the Better Press hot foiled image first using the Precision Layering A2A die set, and I'm going to do some ink blending using some light pinks. And the reason you can see me use pinks for both ink blending is because the wax seal that I'm going to use, which came with the wax seal of the month, is the pink damask. I think some of those wax seals of the month will also come with pearly white, so you either get the pink damask or the pearly white. Whichever one you get, you can still use it on this card, and I do show you using both of it. Now with ink blending, you need to have the right foam pad. So here I'm using the dome foam pad, and I'm ensuring that my ink pads are nice and juicy. And ink blending on the Hammermill card is easy because it's a nice and smooth card. And I do the same thing with the hot foiled image from the Glimmer of the Month kit. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to add an additional color. So I've got the Spun Sugar Kitsch Flamingo as well as the Worn Lipstick Distress Inks. You can use either Distress Inks or Distress Oxide Inks. I do use Distress Inks. I just find it easier to wipe it off the hot foiled areas. So once I've finished all the ink blending, I will wipe it off. The ink that will sit on the foiled areas, I'll wipe it off with a dry cloth. I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you do, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. And when you do subscribe, remember to press that notification bell so you're alerted when new videos are uploaded. There are many ways that you can put these cards together. As you will see, though I have a separate video for Glimmer of the Month as well as Better Press of the Month, two separate videos, I do use the images differently here. So there are many ways you can assemble these cards. The more you use a product, the more creative you can get with it, as you will get more familiar with the product. This is this clear stamp and die of the month, and you've got the coordinating dies to go with most of the sentiments, but not all of them. Now this sentiments here, they go perfectly with the other club kits. So you've got some on monsters, fuzzy monsters and all, that will go with the large die of the month. And you know, the Spellbinders club kits, all of them coordinate so well together, which is why in this video I use them all quite well together. And the theme this month is all about friendship and love, and I do adore that. So all these sentiments in the clear stamp and die of the month, I'm going to use a couple of them, but I also use sentiments from the Glimmer of the Month in some of the cards. So I do use them quite interchangeably because I like the fact that there's one theme and you can use them across the club kits, which is why if you get the Caboodle, and you will get a bonus item with it as well, you will be able to use all of the club kits together. Now I'm just going to be doing some heat embossing here with the first sentiment, which is Love You Endlessly, and I do die cut it. And as usual, I will do all my embossing and ink blending and all of them together, and then I'll start assembling the cards. So here I'm going to use the VersaFine Clair Strawberry ink to stamp the sentiment. Now this is a pigment ink, so it does stay wet for a little while, which is why I tend to put some clear embossing powder on it and heat emboss it. Firstly, because I don't want to smear it, and secondly, I do like the shine that goes on an embossed sentiment. And I do die cut a few layers of these sentiments. Whenever there are sentiments that come with coordinating dies, I die cut quite a few layers so that I can layer them together. Now, before I do any assembly, I'm going to need some wax seals. So here I'm going to show you the wax seals that I'm going to be using here. This is the wax seal of the month from December 24. It's called Scalloped Heart. And it came with a pink damask, but I understand some of you will get it in pearly white wax beads as well. So I use both here. Whenever I get a wax beads that come with the wax seal of the month, I tend to cut the part of the packaging that says what the name is, and then I'll put it into the plastic that comes with the wax beads so that I'll know what it's called. That's my way of keeping track of what colors they are. Or you can get a container like this and put them in as well. I've run short of space in my container, which is why I'm going to store the wax beads in the plastic packet that it comes in. I'm going to add some glitter to the melting wax beads. Now you can get quite different colors with it, and you got to experiment with it depending on how fine your glitter as well. I use quite fine gold glitter here, and this time when I'm putting it on, I didn't stir it at all, so all the glitter, which is heavier, is pulled to the bottom of that particular wax seal. So if you see, all the glitter is at the bottom. So later on you'll see I will stir it, so you can still add some marker or inking to this, which I do. I do add the metallic gold marker to it. So here what I've done is I've missed out this part of the video, but what I did is when the wax is still wet, I sprinkled some glitter on it after pouring the melted wax onto the bead and pressing the wax seal stem on it. So different ways. I just tried to do some experimentation with glitter here. So now I'm going to put more glitter. I do put quite a bit of extra glitter, maybe too much, and then I stir it. Once I stir it, the color changes slightly because you got quite a bit of gold there. So if you want to change the color very subtly, you put more glitter, and depending on the color of the glitter you put as well. So here I'm going to put the glitter onto the pearly white melting wax, and I give it a good stir there, and it does change the color slightly. So I just wanted to do some experimentation with the wax seal stamps. You can experiment with different things. You can even put some gold flakes on it. I haven't tried that, so I need to dig out my gold flakes and try it, but I do try slightly different techniques every time I get the wax seal of the month, just to see what I can do with it. So I'm very carefully applying the metallic gold marker to the heart shape that is in the middle of it, and I do the same for this one as well. So you can see the glitter on this pearly white wax seal stamp that I've made here is a bit more distributed. So it depends whether you want to put the glitter after you pour the melted wax, whether you put it when it's melting without stirring it, and you put it and then you stir it, and then the quantity of the glitter matters as well, and you can get quite different results. It's all about trying. And using these non-stick wax seal spoons makes the whole experimentation with the melted wax so much easier. Check out links to these wax seal spoons in the description below. And here I've done additional die cuts of the shape of the sentiments, and I like adding layers to it so it's got a nice depth to it. And when I do these extra layers, I always use scrap card, because why do you want to use your good card for adding layers? So I use scrap card to cut extra layers to add a thickness. So sometimes my sentiments, once I have stamped it and heat embossed it, it's like quite like a thick chipboard, which is what I like to put onto the card. Here I'm just assembling the cards, and I'm saying you can use it either way. So this pattern of that friendship lace from the Better Press of the month, you can use it either way. So what I like also, these sentiments or these images, even for the Glimmer of the month, you can use it either way. There's no right way up. So I'm just using the adhesive circles, the wax seal stamp adhesive circles, to adhere the wax seal stamp, and then you've got this sentiment that I've added there. So simple, very simple card, and I like the colors that I've used. I really hope you find inspiration from all these cards, and I'd love to hear what you think of them. So your feedback is really, really important to me, and I'd like to hear from you on what you think of them. Sometimes I like to go for some really subtle colors and sometimes I go for some bold colors, but here it's all subtle and quite pastel-y. So here I'm just measuring how to fit the card onto the mat. So this mat here is slightly smaller than the A7 card. The A7 card measures 5 inches by 7 inches, and the mat that I've got there measures 3 1/3 by 5 3/4 inches. So I'm just getting the hot foiled, the die cut and ink blended portions to stick or to match onto it, because I don't want to put it at an angle. I'm trying to put it straight on. So I'm going to put one at the bottom and one at the top. So I'm just measuring how to put it on. You can't see it in the video, but what I'm doing is I'm putting it against the light so I can see where it fits, and then I just draw behind it and I cut it with my guillotine. And to have some depth and some dimension, I do put a thin foam sheet on it, and then I'm putting the entire panel onto an A7 card, just a white card. I like the idea of having a slight border around the card. I think it's just quite pretty. Sometimes I think the thicker borders do look nicer, but I do show you different sized borders just for information. Here, because I wanted some depth, I'm putting some dimensional tape behind that wax seal stamp rather than just the circle adhesive, and you put the sentiment there. Again, the assembly of these cards are easy once you've got all the elements ready. I like the subtle pastel colors of these cards. I also like to make different sized cards rather than always make the same size cards. So this is my brightest card of the lot. So here I decide to do some embossing folder techniques, and I'm using distress oxide inks. And as usual, the key ingredients or the key principles of doing ink blending is domed foam pads for all of your ink blending tools, and make sure your ink pads are nice and juicy. So make sure they're nice and refill. Whenever I buy ink pads, I always make sure to buy the refills as well, because it's nothing worse than trying to do any stamping or ink blending with dry ink pads, because you just render that ink pad unusable if you don't have it inked and refilled properly. So I'm just doing the ink blending with the domed foam, which makes it so much easier, and it is easier to ink blend distress oxide inks rather than distress inks. And of course I'm doing this on the Strathmore Crystal Smooth card, which is ideal for ink blending. And there you go. So once it's slightly dry, because the oxide inks can be quite wet, once it's slightly dry, I spread some water in the back of the panel to soften the card fibers, and I'm putting the card panel face down in the embossing folder because I want to get the debossed image. So the inked side will be debossed, and that's what I wanted to get. So this kind of patterns, you can use the debossed or the embossed image. I do both. So first I'm going to show you how I do the debossed image, and then I'm going to use the VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink, which is the black ink. I'm just going to gently swipe it just to get the background or the foreground black, and then you've got the debossed image with all the colors that I've ink blended. This is a technique I like using, and I must say it doesn't really go with every single pattern, but some patterns it looks better, and I think it really goes with this pattern. And here I've done another ink blended panel, and I used distress oxide inks as well. And now I'm going to spritz some water at the back of the card again to soften the fibers, and this will prevent cracking when you put it through the embossing folder. Here I'm doing to do it embossed, so you can see the ink side is facing upwards. After doing the embossing, I always put some heavy object on it so that it dries straight, so it doesn't warp when it dries. And there you go. So the embossed image is just as beautiful as the debossed image, and that's the nice thing about these folders. Now I'm going to assemble the card here. I'm just going to twine some metallic gold thread here. You can see the thread going all over the place. So I'm just twining some metallic gold thread before I put the foam sheet behind it. Whenever I emboss a panel, I like to put a foam sheet behind it. Firstly, it gives it depth, and it's also easier to adhere it flat onto the card front when you've got some foam sheet behind the embossed panel. So I use double-sided tape for all of this because I'm comfortable using it, and I also think it's cleaner, because sometimes when you use liquid glue it can warp when you put too much glue, and I don't like that. So once I've adhered the panel, it's just a matter of adhering the wax seal stamp with the adhesive, circle adhesive, as well as the sentiment, And the sentiment here is from the Glimmer hot foil kit of the month, which I have already hot foiled and layered. So you will see me do all the hot foiling in another video where I've just focused on the Glimmer of the month. So I will add the other videos from the Spellbinders Club Kit of the month, December 2024, in the description below. So you can check out the other videos that I've done showcasing the Spellbinders Club Kits from December 2024. Over the month, I do quite a few videos on the Spellbinders Club Kits, and at the end of it, what I do is I tend to issue a playlist. I'll release a playlist that will have all the videos from that particular month's Club Kits in one playlist, so it's easy to access. And when I release that playlist, I will also do a bonus project where I'll use all the Club Kits of the month that I've received in one project. So here you can see I've got the same sentiment in black, so I've hot foiled it using a gold hot foil on black card. So I like that contrast as well. So for the next card here, I'm going to focus on using the clear stamp and die of the month. I do like that. So you can see I've put the measurements of the card and the mat on the screen so you know what I'm working with. And when I do stamping, I like to use a stamping platform. Firstly, it gives me more control, and also I like to double stamp to get a darker color sometimes. And because I'm also using it, it's easier to re-stamp sometimes. So I'm going to use here, I'm going to do multiple stamping of this alphabets here using the same color, but I'm going to use one color in the middle, slightly different. Now, initially I think I'm going to leave it the same color, but that's the thing about stamping. You can use your stamping platform and re-stamp some areas, and that's really invaluable when you're doing stamping. And I like to use the stamp press tool as well to make sure the ink goes in really well. Now, I do quite a bit of stamping here because I want to spread the image. So this is A to Z, and then you've got I love you in a separate stamp. That's why you can use a different color. And both the larger image as well as the smaller image that says I love you will have separate coordinating dies. And that's why it's quite versatile on how you can use this particular stamp. So I continue to stamp the entire panel with gray ink, and you can see I've done the I love you with red ink. I don't know how the initial part of it you can't see. Sometimes I forget to turn it on, the video on, and you don't get to see the full one, but it's just as easy to stamp the I love you. So I've stamped all of it. Now I think it kind of gets lost in the middle, so I've realigned the stamp to the middle, and I'm stamping it with a darker gray because I want the middle bit, the A to Z in the middle, to stand out a little bit. So you can see immediately it stands out. That's what I wanted. And then I put the panel together. So I'm going to die cut it using the coordinating die and layer it. So once I die cut it, I will die cut a few extra layers with some scrap card, and then I've got it all adhered in nice thick chipboard before I adhere it to the card panel. And you can see the card panel, I've already backed it with some foam sheet, again for some further dimension when I'm going to attach it to the card base, which will be an A7 card measuring 5 inches by 7 inches. So you just slot that in, and there you go. You can see a little bit of depth to that. And I'm just going to put it onto the card front. But I decided to put a matte. I think putting a matte. Now I put a black matte. I didn't have that dark gray matte, but I think it doesn't matter. And this Forever Yours sentiment is also from the clear stamp of the month, where I have stamped, done some embossing with clear embossing powder, and also die cut it and layered it. And there you go, the card is pretty much done. But I add some glossy accents to the I love you in red, just to give it a little bit more shine and a bit more dimension. And the thing about the glossy accents is it'll dry with a little bit of dimension and retain that shininess, which is why I really like using glossy accents. But do remember to keep it aside so it dries without you smearing it. And here's another card I've done using various VersaFine Clair colors. I've stuck with the pastel colors, and I've done the middle in black. So here I've got the I love you. I've inked it in tulip red, and I'm going to adhere it to the front of that card as well. Now I do it with a white background with a black stamp. Once I put it together, I'm not as happy with it as I thought I'd be, so I change it up. So that's the thing about this. You can change it up. You can see me almost immediately changing my mind on how I want it to look. But I do like that pastel colors in the background. So to make the middle bit pop a little bit more, I decide to stamp it on black card with a white embossing. So there you go. That's what I've done. So I think this pops better. What do you think? I do think it pops better. And again, I mat it with a black card because I think it just gives it that extra pop on the card front. So you've got one with a slightly thicker border and one with a slightly thinner border. I just wanted to show you variations. I do like the one with the thicker border, but I also like it when it's more colorful. So it's just really individual preference. And here I've done another simple version of it where I'm going to use the emboss panel, just white. I've embossed a card panel slightly bigger, and I've put the foam sheet on front of the card base, which is an A6 card. An A6 card is a common card size in the UK, which measures 14.8 centimeters by 10.5 centimeters. And I've done some ink blending after doing the stamping with some white embossing powder. And then I've got the I Love You with some pigment, Enchanted Gold pigment ink from Otonu. And the Forever Yours is again from the Glimmer of the Month, which I've hot foiled. Do check out the other video on the Glimmer of the Month and you'll see me put all this together. I do the hot foiling for the sentiments that comes with it. I want to do a simple card but make the middle bit a little bit more colorful with some ink blending. I do like how this card turned out. Let me know what you think. I prefer the ink blended to be the front bit rather than all of it. Here are all the cards that I've created, and I hope you've got inspiration on how I've used the clear stamp of the month, embossing folder, as well as the wax seal of the month. But for the better press of the month and the Glimmer hot foil kit of the month, do check out the videos that separately deal with that, and I'll put that in the link below so you can get more ideas from it as well, because what I've done here is slightly different to what I've done in those particular videos. I do like how all the cards have turned out. I do like the fact that Spellbinders club kits come in a theme, which means I can use quite a few club kits in creating one project or one card. And I also like creating cards of various sizes. So let me know what you think on all of this. All the products I've used, I've put it in the description below. Because there's only a limited number of products I can use. I've not put every single color, but I've put some colors of the inks. But if you go to that link, you can just search up the rest of the colors. So I've put them all in the description below, and I'll put the other Spellbinders Club Kit videos in the description below as well. And here are close-up pictures of all the cards that I've created. Spellbinders subscriptions can be ordered until the 27th of each month, so do go and check it out. I've got that links in the below, whether it's you're in the US or the UK, you can get those in the links below. Thank you so much for stopping by. Hope you've been inspired. Happy crafting when you get your club kits, and do take care.